Hey everyone, Josh here. Jim from QuantumLeap.com asked me a question, and I'd like to respond to that here. Essentially, he wrote a post about multitasking, and I left a comment just saying that's why I love Kanban so much. And so he asked, how does Kanban actually address the issue of multitasking? So I'm going to elaborate here. I'm using a tool called RadTrack. If you have co-located teams on site, then I suggest that you don't use a software tool, but use some kind of a whiteboard, or I actually use just a sheet of paper with stickies on it. So you can kind of customize it and do whatever you want. But as an example, I think it'd be good to use the RadTrack example here. So you've got a backlog, just like you would like in an Agile project. You've got a backlog as well. And these are the user stories or tasks that are waiting to get into work. And with Kanban, you've essentially got a situation where you've got a value map of your project that you're doing on purpose, essentially. So within the work, you might have coding, design, coding, testing as the value streams that your tasks go through. And you essentially limit the work in process and hence limit multitasking by making sure that you've only got a certain amount of items in each lane. So in a lot of cases, it might be one item in each lane if it's a team thing and you're all working on the same thing. You could potentially have multiple items in the same lane as well. So maybe 2 or 3 is your work in process. You have to kind of experiment with it and see what works. And by the way, on Kanban, Pavel Brodinsky, Software Projects blog, is a good place to. He's been using Kanban with his teams for a while. After I got interested in Kanban, I found his blog and learned a lot from him. So I would definitely check that out if you're interested in Kanban as well. I'm probably going to be putting out much more on Kanban myself. So getting back to Shim's original question about multitasking and how Kanban addresses that. There's the thing with managing work in process, which is part of it. Probably the more powerful thing is when you get drive-bys. So I'm on a project team where I've got a couple people that get used by different groups, and so they get drive-by requests. Hey, can you do this for us? Hey, can you do that? I need this type of thing. The great thing about the Kanban board is that you can go to your backlog and the Kanban board itself. We have a physical board at my work, and so the backlog is over on one side, and then all this stuff is over on the right side, at least the stuff that we've got up on the board. You can't have a backlog, digitally or something separate, and you kind of add to the backlog as you start working things down. But the great thing is that you can take a look at this with the person who wants something. If it's like a management person or whatever, you can look at it with them. They can come over to me and say, hey Josh, I got this request to do this thing. Where does this fit in terms of priority? And we can essentially take a look at it and see what's on your plate right now. Let's just say that 2 or 3 of these are assigned to them. I actually use different colored stickies for each person, so you can really easily see, okay, all the yellow stickies are John. And then you can say, well, this is what's on John's plate. You can take a look at what he's got, and you can negotiate priority based on that. And the way that I do it on the physical board is the things towards the top right are the higher priority. And as you go down and to the left, you get lower and lower priority. So we can kind of move the stickies around and negotiate in real time based on what the priority is. And then the nice thing about this is that when you do get the drive-bys, it basically makes you stop and take a look at what's on the Kanban board. You kind of have that process of going through and saying, is this urgent and important, or is it just urgent? Is it something that we can put in the backlog? Maybe it's not important. Maybe we're not the right people to do it. Maybe it is important and it is urgent and we need to do it now. Maybe it is important but it's not urgent, and so we can put it in the backlog. We don't have to drop everything that we're working on right now and do it. So I find that it's really helpful from the standpoint of protecting my team and myself from having to do a lot of multitasking, switch tasking between different things as we get drive-bys. It's like having a parking lot all the time, and you can easily see where your priorities are and be able to switch things out, make adjustments, things like that. And there are times where something's very important and everything. Let's say this user story 10 is a requested thing, and right now we're working on user story 9. Well, it doesn't happen very often, but if need be, if this is really, really important, then we can move this back. I don't like to do that, but we can move it back and put this into in progress if we deem that it's really that urgent, that important. And so we will switch a task, but now we're going to work on user story 10 until that thing is done. And then, or miscellaneous task 10, let's just say it was a miscellaneous task. Let me actually just move that around so that we got that. So there's this miscellaneous task that was a drive-by. So we're going to go ahead and switch that, put that into in progress, and then, we're going to stop working on user story 9 until that's done, and then we're going to work on that. So again, it just helps the team and myself focus on what's important right now, manage our workflow, and stop the multitasking. Thanks, everyone.